Wildcat is a historic wooden roller coaster at Lake Compounce. The ride is beautiful and iconic with locals, but for many years, it offered a bone-rattling and uncomfortable ride experience. It had gotten to the point that I would go years without riding this coaster. The park had tried refurbishing this coaster for years without much success, but that all changed in 2024. Gravity Group worked their magic and finally fixed this ride. They not only added their pre-cut track for a smoother ride experience, but they also reprofiled some sections. Wildcat is now running faster and better than ever. I will explain why in this review. Most of my re-reviews in this channel have been to update older videos where the audio or visual quality was not up to my current standard, but I needed to update my Wildcat review for an entirely different reason. I need to give the ride an apology. Based on my prior rides in 2021, I declared it the worst roller coaster in all of New England, and I wasn't the only one who found this coaster rough and uncomfortable. This is part of the reason why Wildcat was kept closed for the entire 2023 season. It was also so the park could properly figure out how to fix it because their past efforts had not been as helpful. Wildcat opened back in 1927, so it's nearly 100 years old at this point. It was designed by Herb Schmeck of the Philadelphia Toboggan Coasters Company. The ride was fully rebuilt by the Din Corporation in the mid-1980s. I haven't heard many reviews from this ride before the 1980s, but I heard this particular rebuild contributed mightily to its later problems. The Kennywood Corporation retracked the ride once again in the late 1990s. I started riding the coaster around this point, and it was already bouncy. Through the 2016 season, the coaster ran 3-bench PTC trains. These trains shuffled throughout the layout, and the park deemed it time for another major refurbishment. Before the 2017 season, Wildcat received track work from Martin and Vlaminx and Millennium Flyers from Great Coasters International, or GCI. This was expected to make Wildcat smooth at last, but it had the opposite effect. It made the coaster rougher than ever. The Millennium Flyers did not work well with the existing track type and profile. So I was skeptical Gravity Group could finally fix this coaster in advance of the 2024 season, but they made a believer out of me. They used their patented pre-cut wood track. Pre-cut track is stacked vertically. This gives the wood greater strength and more resistance to bending. This track is also precision cut by CNC equipment, so it arrives on site with the desired profile. This has been added to several rides across the globe. Examples include Racer at Kings Island, Kentucky Flyer at Kentucky Kingdom, Legend at Holiday World, and Tonnerre to Zeus at Parc Asterix. This track type is remarkably smooth for a wood coaster, and it should have the durability to stand the test of time. Gravity Group not only retracked Wildcat, but they also reprofiled it. They added some banking on the first and second turnarounds. Then they adjusted the profiling on the lower bunny hills. This reduced the once violent and often painful laterals, and they instead added some airtime. I famously said that the road in the Lake Compounce offered more airtime than Wildcat in my 2021 review. That simply is not the case anymore. This ride now has some legit airtime. Another reason is because this ride is running faster than it ever has. This is because the trains are navigating the course more fluidly. Just compare these two POVs from 2019 and 2024. The 2019 POV was filmed on a hot summer day. This traditionally is when wood coasters run their fastest. Meanwhile, the 2024 POV was filmed on a cool spring day. There was actually a freeze advisory the morning it was filmed. Yet, the 2024 POV beat the 2019 POV by a few seconds. If this ride is already doing that on a cooler day, imagine how much faster it could be in the summer. Wildcat is by far the oldest coaster to receive pre-cut track thus far, and the parts of the ride that receive this track are easily identifiable. The old sections have white track and orange handrails. The latter was because the park's mascot at the time was Garfield. Meanwhile, the new sections are entirely brown. They could not be painted at this time because they were recently fabricated, but the park will paint them in a year or two so they match the rest of the ride. I think that's a smart decision. I liked the pre-existing colors. I'm simply a sucker for white on a classic wood coaster. and I especially love how the lift hill is framed with the turnstiles. It's part of the reason Lake Compounce is one of the most beautiful entrances out there. If you want to ride Wildcat, the entrance is on the back side of the ride. For the past few years, you entered underneath a section of track with the old train fixed atop it. It looked really cool. The entrance was modified in a few ways for the 2024 season. First, the track was shortened. Now it does not extend beyond the Wildcat logo, so you no longer pass directly underneath it. 2, the train has been removed. The park says they do have plans to re-add it in the future though. 3, a few trees were removed to create a separate staircase to accommodate Speedy Pass users. This is the park's paid Skip the Line service. 2024 is the first year that Wildcat will be offered on the system. You can either purchase single shots or all-day options that include Wildcat. Prices vary by day. This will likely save a considerable amount of time on Wildcat. Speedy Pass users are routed directly into the station, and they will often board the next train. The park lets enough people into the station to fill the next train, and Speedy Pass users are admitted first, so they will get first pick of seats. If you use the standby line, you may have to wait a while. Wildcat never had good capacity to begin with. For many years, it ran a single PTC train that sat 18 riders. But the current Millennium Flyers actually seat less people. These trains have 7 rows of 2, so they hold just 14 riders. The park does have 2 trains now, but I have only seen them run one at a time, and that seems to be the plan for 2024 once again. If all of the station switchbacks are full, this ride usually has a half-hour wait. That would commonly happen most days in the past. I do expect the wait to be a bit higher in 2024 between the improved ride experience and the addition of Speedy Pass. I would not be surprised if it maxed out at 45 minutes a lot of days this summer. In past years, I would recommend that people skip this ride altogether between the long waits and poor ride experience. Now that the ride is enjoyable, the lower capacity is more of an issue. If you want to ride this with a shorter wait, I recommend trying to ride Wildcat at the very start of the day. Or, you can ride it during the last hour. Crowds will usually start to filter out. And even if they don't, this is a rare Parques Reunidos park that does not close queues early, meaning you can hop in line right before close to maximize your time at the park. Once at the end of the queue, you are admitted into the station to pick your row. Seating is on a first-come basis. If the row you want is already occupied, staff members typically will let you wait for the next train if you ask nicely. I got nearly 20 rides on Wildcat a few days ago in a variety of seats. I had a slight preference for the front, but I thought the forces were mostly similar across the train. This ride once had buzz bars with the old trains, which would have been glorious with the ride's current airtime. These are single-position lap bars that rest a foot above the lap of most riders. The ride currently runs Millennium Flyers. These are the newer generation ones with the hard foam seats. This was a major issue for years given how poorly this ride tracked, but it's not as much of an issue now. Still, I do wish it had the cushioned upholstery instead. Riders then have a shared seatbelt. This is fine for most riders, but it can be problematic if you have 2 larger adults sitting side by side because it doesn't have much slack. Then each rider gets their own T-bar restraint. This was problematic with how rough the ride used to be because your legs could smack the metal bar in the center. This no longer is an issue. The restraints will want to lower further during the ride though. This can take away the airtime and cause some discomfort at the very end if it's super tight. So I would advise holding onto it once staff members check your harness. Wildcat begins by slowly rolling towards the lift hill. This part is a bit of a shake still, which actually now makes it one of the rougher parts of the ride. This is a testament to how good Gravity Group did. You then have an 85-foot or 26-meter tall lift hill. Since Wildcat is at the very center of the park, the lift offers some nice views of the entire property, especially if you look behind you at the lake. The lift hill is slightly faster in 2024 than past years, as you reach the top a few seconds quicker. The first drop is 78 feet, or 24 meters tall. Back with the old trains, I could get a pinch of airtime in the very back row, but it hasn't offered any airtime with the Millennium Flyers. I believe the drop is the one part that GCI retracted themselves several years ago, and this part is still smooth. This leads into the first turnaround. It does not level off to induce airtime. Instead, it is just one big turn. It is slightly underbanked though, so it offers some weak laterals. Halfway down the turn, the ride switches to the first section of pre-cut track. This continues to the second turnaround. This was the part of the ride that needed it most. The following two bunny hills were easily the worst parts of the ride. They jackhammered profusely. The first was particularly brutal because it banked right at the apex. This resulted in a violent lateral jolt, along with all that shuffling. Gravity Group significantly altered this hill. Now it is straight, so there's no sudden lateral slam. And the hill is tighter now, so get ready for this. It actually offers some sustained floater airtime. I was in shock I was getting actual airtime on this coaster after years of it not having any. Then Gravity Group put the rightward turn as a bank twist on the pullout. It is smooth and fluid. The second bunny hill looks similar to how it was in the past, except it now does not beat you up, and it offers very weak floater airtime throughout the train. Then comes the second turnaround. This one is profiled similarly to that of the first, except this one offers better laterals. They are okay in power, but they're sustained through much of the element. At the apex, the ride switches back to the old track. I was very worried this transition would be noticeable and bumpy. It thankfully was not. The ride switches back to the second section of pre-cut track at the apex of the following bunny hill. This is another transition I was worried about, but it once again is seamless. This leads into 3 consecutive bunny hills. Gravity Group made some major modifications to these as well. Originally, the first 2 gradually banked left. This used to combine jackhammering with uncomfortable lateral jolts. Gravity Group removed the leftward twist from the hills themselves. You now quickly bank left after the initial bunny hill. Then there's a tiny speed hump. Then you finish the leftward twist into the third bunny hill. This part is quick and smooth. And there's some more airtime as well. The initial hill has some weak floater towards the back. You don't really get any negative G's in the front though. The speed hump is now the best part of the ride. It offers a nice and forceful pop of airtime. It is more abrupt towards the front. This is another moment that completely caught me off guard. I didn't realize Gravity Group was reprofiling the ride to this extent. The last bunny hill does not offer any negative G's. This section actually climbs up a hill, so it is a bit too high and drawn out to offer any airtime. You then switch back to the old track on the third turnaround. From this point forwards, the ride is very bumpy. The train shuffles and jackhammers for the final few elements. This is very apparent in the reverse POV. The saving grace is that the train is traveling slowly, so it's not too bad. In a way, it is almost comical how this section seemingly comes out of nowhere and it starts jostling you about. The third turnaround is cool aesthetically though. It is tucked in the supports and it hugs the ground. No forces though. Then there are 2 more bunny hills. The entry into the first in particular has a nasty jolt. Then the 2 bunny hills are oddly taller than the ones earlier in the ride, so they are not able to offer airtime even with the added speed. You then rise upwards into the brakes. It's another bumpy moment. If you are in the very front row, you actually get this weird airtime pop halfway up the hill. I think it's induced by the roughness. I found this moment funny, but some found it more uncomfortable. Again, this only happens in the very front row. You then hit the brakes and return to the station. I have not seen an updated track length for this coaster, but it should still be similar to the old length of 2,746 feet, or 837 meters. The first 3/4 of this layout is now solid. The ride is respectable pacing and wonderful smoothness. The finale could use some TLC though, but I believe that's the plan going forwards. This past off-season, the park said they have plans to add more pre-cut track to the third turnaround and any remaining problem areas. Based on how it's currently riding, I believe that will be the entire return run into the breaks. So what would I rate Wildcat? I would currently give this coaster a 5 out of 10. This is a dramatic improvement, as this ride used to get a 1 out of 10 from me. This is now an enjoyable coaster. Gravity Group did a fantastic job breathing new life into this classic by smoothing the track work and adding some airtime moments. The ending is still bumpy, no denying that, but it's not unbearable, and I'm encouraged the park will likely fix this soon to make this coaster about as perfect as it can be. This never had the craziest layout, so I do prefer some bigger wood coasters such as the adjacent Boulder Dash, but it is a classic, and now that it's smooth, it is a pleasant experience for all ages. 2024 is the year of roller coaster modifications. Along with Wildcat's track work, Sky Rush at Hershey Park received modified restraints, Lightning Rod at Dollywood lost its launch in favor of a chain lift, Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point was converted into Top Thrill 2 with a swing launch, and Nemesis at Alton Towers was retracted and rethemed into Nemesis Reborn. But Wildcat has to be the most improved roller coaster of 2024. All of the other rides I mentioned were great or elite to begin with. Wildcat was almost unanimously considered one of the world's worst wooden roller coasters as of when it last ran in 2022. Gravity Group and the park elevated this ride up to decent. This ride went from absolute trash to genuinely fun. I applaud the work that was done to this ride to make it enjoyable once again for generations to come. So those are my thoughts on Wildcat at Lake Compounce. If you hated this ride in the past, definitely give it another shot. The experience from past years in 2024 is night and day. What are your thoughts about this coaster and the Gravity Group pre-cut track? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.